We 10 years next year.
10 years. Oh, wow. Next year, this year.
Sorry, yeah, this year.
Hey, come on now.
10 years.
So this is like, it's a full circle moment.
Yeah. Bang. Boom. So yeah, this year will be 10.
So you've seen a lot of change in your 10 years.
Mm.
That's probably a good starting point to sort of chat about that. What did you want to become a physiotherapist in the first place?
I picked physio when I was in like grade 6 or 7, and I'm not 100% sure why, whether it was just exposure.
6, 7?
Yeah, getting like little calf tears and things like that playing footy as a grade 6 or a grade 7 kid. But yeah, I picked physio back then, and then so my whole high school I was always kind of working to that common goal, which made it very easy. And yeah, never really wavered. And then goal number 2 was then sort of owning my own clinic and being able to sort of run the programs the way I'd liked it.
Was it because was it particular physio that you experienced, or was it just
No, and I think just loving sport so much. I think it was like when you might have that dream of being the elite athlete, but then when you kind of take a step back from that, then it's like, okay, I want to be in maybe the medical team and things like that, so I can work with the elite athletes.
so still being involved?
But yeah, just being involved in the sport, whether it's kind of helping that junior athlete get better and better, or with more of the senior guys trying to keep them healthy so that they can, do their best on the park.
So, this particular episode is really focusing on screening. Like, how important is screening in terms of, like, I guess, running a season for a club?
So as part of the medical team, so physios and the strength and conditioning coaches, it's the most important thing in the early point, because we can then try to work on, have they recovered from the year prior? Maybe they had 2 or 3 niggles, so have they recovered from those? And then looking forward, is there any of those signs that we can sort of identify in that moment to try to prevent the next thing?
Yeah.
So we call it secondary prevention, but it's basically we're trying to follow those breadcrumbs and find them so that we can try to prevent the bigger event down the line, which is when they've had the injury and then they're sort of in the clinic rehabilitating because they've had that injury. But if we can stop it before it's happened and they can remain on the park, best thing for any athlete is availability. It's like if you're the most skilled player but you're never available, all right, it doesn't help your team really at all. So availability is key. So doing the screening nice and early so that we've got enough time to kind of put measures in place to improve someone's hamstring strength or improve someone's plyometric capacity at an ankle, sort of before they start their trials around March.
Now, what was sort of like, I haven't got the opportunity to sort of chat about it. Can you go through each of the different stations that, like, obviously we focused on Anali and Jake, so what they experienced with each of those stations and what each of those stations specifically did for that athlete?
So those screenings would have been heavily targeted to those 2 players, particularly because Jacob's had a foot and a knee surgery. So, and then Ollie's had a knee surgery. So we did a lot of lower limb based testing today. So our first one, we always look at anthropometry. So we're looking at their height, weight, how long their legs are, mainly because we want to standardize their gross measures and take it back to almost more like a universal figure so that we could compare 120 kilo sort of prop and an 80 kilo back. So we always want to make sure that we're using standardized measures.
Why is that important?
Well, it just means that we can, so when we look at research sort of across the globe, all right, a universal figure can be used between sports, all right, can be used between sort of positions and size of athletes. So a 6'5" person and a 5'10", they're going to have very different leg sizes, and that changes their lever lengths. So it's a bit of that sort of physics from back at high school and uni, but makes us be able to use sort of proper evidence that sort of professional clubs and universities have essentially done all the work in.
Okay.
So we start with anthropometry, and then today we did hamstrings, we did the hip and groin,
Yep.
and then we did their calf strength
Yep.
as well, and then we did their plyometric and their gross strength on the force plates. So looking at overall how strong the athlete is, and then making sure we're looking at their asymmetries as well.
Okay, so breaking it down like again station by station.
So the hamstring station was isometric and an eccentric. So isometric is a shortening contraction, and then we've got the eccentric, which is more of the lengthening contraction. But we're looking at hamstring risk. And then for someone like Ollie, who had a ACL injury, they took part of his hamstring in order to do the ACL reconstruction.
Okay.
So that's the most common graft type used in Australia. About 80% of all reconstructions are hamstrings. So it also gives us a bit of an idea of how his donor site is recovering sort of 6, 7, 8 months down the line.
So we may not put this in, but depending on how much information he wants to give out. But how's he tracking at the moment?
He's doing really well. So he's basically his return to play sort of frameworks are he's doing sort of a reintegration into training with the team, which is going to include a lot more skills-based work. In January, start doing line-outs and starting to look at some scrums as well. And then ideally he'll be looking at about sort of 80 to 90% participation in February, so that he can look at transitioning to full training in March. So he can target that sort of trial start of the season period, which is March and April.
Hi guys, Ralph Noga here. Yeah, that guy. Listen, thank you for watching the first few minutes of my first, official piece of educational content on my platform, ralphnoga.com. Yeah, those first few minutes is part of the 1 hour episode of Screen Time, which is an episode on my preseason channel, which is part of the Physio series on my platform. Apologies. I'm at the moment. I'm actually building quite a bit of content for release on the platform, both filming and editing. So I didn't want to sort of get in front of the camera just yet. I spend a bit more time explaining the type of content that's coming out, but I thought I might give you a bit of an audio update. But yeah, if you are interested in purchasing the Physio series, it's $30. If you use RSP's discount code RSP, it's only $24, so you get $6 off or 20% off. But yeah, it's if you're a physiotherapist or starting to be a physiotherapist, an S&C coach or starting to be an S&C coach, or even a sports coach or starting to be a sports coach, I think this particular series is important in the sense that understanding the role of physio in a sports team is super important. So those obviously starting to be a physiotherapist is going to be very, very relevant for you, but at the same time, equally, if you're an S&C coach, having an insight as to your relationship that you have working with a physiotherapist, whichever sport you're involved in, is a super important sort of relationship that you have in terms of how you, help athletes stay competitive on the field and off the field. So a bit of insight there, and that's just one piece of content that's coming out on the platform. So yeah, thanks again to Jared and his team, Ollie and Jacob, for giving this insight to their injuries as well. And more to come on the Physio series, but if you enjoy this little bit of free content on my YouTube channel as well, I appreciate your time. Have a great day, guys, and I'll hope to see you in front of the camera in the next week or so. Peace.